Since then, they've won 29 straight games, and now they'll face an LSU team that they defeated in the Chick-fil-A Bowl at the end of the 2012 season. And they will attempt to knock off LSU for a second straight time in what will be the fourth all-time meeting between the two schools. LSU owns a 2-1 advantage. Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence is the first player out for interviews. Let's listen in to what he's going to be talking about.
How do you kind of feel having done this one?
Still, it's similar. It's, still really exciting. And I think just the biggest thing is I've been there before, so it's not as, I know what to expect more, but it's, it's a different place, it's a different team. We're a different team, so everything's different, but just having that experience of playing in a national championship definitely is something that, you take a little comfort in, just knowing that you've been there, you kind of know what to expect.
Are you surprised that suddenly everyone's discovered you're a running quarterback?
I mean, I've always known I can run a little bit, but I think just that's something I've really gotten better at and I've improved at since last year, was just, being able to impact the game a little bit more that way. So it's just, I was saying earlier, just whatever I can do to impact the game, if that's running, whatever it is, then I'm going to do it.
You sold a designed run for that touchdown pretty
Yeah,
well. Is that something that kind of had to come along in your game, the selling of the play?
Yeah, I think that just comes with, the more you rep things, and then obviously me running the ball a lot, helped sell that, because I'd ran it probably 6 or 7 times before that or more throughout the game. So I think just, doing that, and the defense is expecting QB run, and then being able to hit over the top is, that helps.
Trevor, after hearing all season about the criticism of the schedule and quote unquote you guys haven't played anyone, how do you guys embrace the challenge of showing that you're still an elite team while you're playing these top level guys now?
Doesn't change, it's obviously we're playing really good teams now, and it doesn't change anything for us, though. We still prepare the same way, and I think that's the biggest thing is just staying consistent and doing what we've done. And just because we're playing someone else doesn't mean we need to change everything we're doing. So that's the biggest thing for us, is just, being consistent and preparing the same way we did for the other 14 games is really important.
I guess you probably don't have a reason to look at Joe Burrow, but do you take a peek, or do you ever compare yourself to him, or do you have a chip that he was in New York for the Heisman and whatnot?
Not really. I mean, he's just a great player. He's really fun to watch. I've gotten to watch him a few times, and then obviously you see like highlights and whatever on ESPN, but just a great player. I think just he can do so many things well. He can run a little bit too. He's mobile, so that helps him. But then also just really accurate and has really good pocket presence. But he's a lot of fun to watch for sure.
Trevor, the I love you guys before you got in the huddle there for the last drive against Ohio State.
Trevor Lawrence, the Clemson quarterback, who has been stellar in terms of throwing the football over the second half of the year, and, of course, showed his ability to run with a 100-yard effort, a career-high 100-plus yard effort in the win against Ohio State. We're going to hover on down the line here and hear from some others, and players are still trickling in. They bring the offensive starters. One of those who does a great job protecting Trevor Lawrence is Gage Cervenka, the fifth-year senior out of Emerald High in Greenwood. He's played some center in his career, but has really been fantastic this season as a starting guard. Let's hear what Gabe has to say ahead of this game. Or I should say, Gage has to say ahead of this game.
Very unlikely, but you still have to prepare.
Teams have had success popping some big runs on them throughout the season. Relatively speaking, when you try to find a weakness in a college football playoff team, where do you feel like teams have had success in being able to run the ball against them?
I think just hatting them up is the biggest thing. It's always when you hat people up, you give running backs a chance to find the hole. A good running back will find a hole. So as long as you just kind of don't whiff and screw up and just let people free, then anybody has a chance. So that's probably that would be the biggest thing I would say. Make sure you communicate and understand where people need to go to, who is blocking who, and just hatting people up.
And then the defensive line, watching them, it's like the linemen all kind of look to figure out who's an in and who to tackle, because they all look like 300.
Yeah, no, they're all some big bodies. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, you understand where they line up. It doesn't matter. I mean, whoever's at a certain spot, position at a time. But yeah, I mean, they got some big guys, and they got some strong, powerful, speedy guys. So it's gonna be fun. I'm excited for this matchup.
Do you believe in the bright lights factor? Yet another postseason game on
played some big regular season games. They played a semifinal, but their guys are going through this whole process the first time. Does that give you guys an advantage at all?
It can, yeah, if you don't know how to prepare for it in a way. I just feel like for us, or for me at least, it's just another game. It's the next game in a way. I mean, this is the final game for me. I don't get anything else after this. So I got 4 quarters if God willing, I don't get hurt or anything like that. But, yeah, I feel like it can definitely get to you if you don't know how to prepare for it. I feel like that's kind of what got to us last time we were in New Orleans because we had a Bourbon Street and all of this hype and stuff we're here and just kind of everybody's seen this. So we really wasn't, I guess, we didn't prepare as best. We just kind of slacked up and just try to enjoy too much. And luckily now, though, this is a championship game. So you don't have that much free time. It's more business trip-like, which is really good. So be able to keep guys focused and not just kind of going out there, just enjoy being at a national championship and just kind of understand, like, hey, we got work here to do. But, yeah, if you don't get really focus in and buy in on what you're trying to do, then it can definitely sneak up to you and just kind of be like, whoa, what just happened? And it can hurt you.
You guys have played in front of a lot of crazy crowds to play LSU in New Orleans. What are you expecting from an atmosphere perspective?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's going to be very hostile. I mean, it's going to be a home game for them. I mean, so I'm excited, though. I mean, it's just something we always dream of doing is just going and just winning a trophy in a hostile environment. I mean, look, you'd love to have your fans there, and I'm sure we'll have fans there. And but yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of LSU there. So I'm excited about it. It's going to test us and stress us in our communication pre-snap and post-snap, just because it's going to be loud. So make sure everyone's on the same page. But I mean, I'm excited. There's no better way than doing it than beating LSU in Louisiana. So.
Tremaine Antrim is another veteran offensive lineman. He is settled in on the other end of the table from Gage Cervenka.
LSU Tigers. Just been on their roll. These guys have been fantastic. Joe Burrow playing out of his mind. The defense holding up. It's going to be a really, really good matchup, and I'm excited to see it.
As you go into this and to think that you're right, this ever become common to you? Does this stage, has it become common to you?
It's what you come to Clemson to play, right? These are the magnitude games that you want to be in, right? These all on the table, full stake kind of games there. It seems like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and that's the kind of pressure that makes diamonds here at Clemson. That's why we're so special, is that these giant games that we play in don't really faze us, right? It's our norm. Greatness is just the regular around here.
I guess the phrase is that Clemson is built for this. Is that what you constantly have to preach to yourself as you go into a game like this?
I don't really have to. It's just kind of ingrained in who we are. I mean, from camp to preseason to, summer workouts to spring, like this is what we're built for. We're built for the tough, high pressure situations. And when those pressures come, we're not fazed by it.
What's the best thing that Robbie Caldwell does to get you all ready?
He has confidence in us. He just always asserts that he's, believing in us, that we have the tools to go out and do, what we need to do to win the game. And he's tough, right? He brings that tough mindset that we adapt from him. And, with that, what else do you need to win a game?
Standpoint of them defensively and some of the things maybe you've seen on film, similar to some teams you've faced. They've had some games where they've given up some big yards, but what are some of the things you've seen out of their defense so far?
They have a really tough front physical 4 guys. I know they do a lot of things with their Sam linebackers and their Will linebackers, and they mix it up. But they usually hunker down with those middle 3. They're really physical, really big, thick guys, similar to how Florida State was. They really hold down the center and make you, physically make them beat you.
How much from the standpoint that you guys have known all year long, you've got a quarterback who can run out of the pocket as well as throw. But now that's on tape for LSU to have to think about for 2 weeks. And the fact that now he's perceived to be even more of a weapon in reality, just give me a thought on that.
It definitely adds a new dimension to our offense, but it's always been there. Obviously, we may have not exercised that as much, but Trevor definitely is a threat in the run game as well as in the pass. So that gives something the defense has to worry about. It gives them something that they need to really factor in when game planning for us. It really does put some pressure on them to make them really play, secure up front and in the secondary. So it should be something that they have to think about.
We're going to work our way down, and Travis Etienne, a running back who, of course, has the added story in this game of going back to his home state of Louisiana. LSU did not offer him until late in the recruiting process. At that point, Clemson had made serious overtures, and he was loyal to that. So let's listen in on what Travis Etienne has to say. And we will, as you can understand, work around what is a very large crowd.
It's definitely a team accomplishment that I get to stamp my name on, but I mean, it's just going to be great to look back on that down the road and just be like, wow, I really was kind of good with my college career.
Did you attend any games at LSU before you said that?
Yeah, me and my friends, we went to LSU games like every weekend.
Were you an LSU fan, would you say? Or?
I mean, early on growing up, no, I was a Tennessee fan. I was a fan of Tennessee, the Volunteers. But I mean, as I got older and started like being able to get recruited, I kind of like LSU grew me. Like we were just going there every weekend. I mean, it was the closest game. So I mean, me and my two buddies just always went.
What's it like going to a game?
I mean, it's a unique experience of its own. I mean, it's just really crazy loud, just very passionate. I mean, it's something you have to, I feel everyone should experience for themselves.
So many guys.
I mean, quite a bit. I played with quite a bit from high school, but I kind of keep in touch with the backer, number 8, Patrick Queen. We just always kept in touch. So.
Guys, did you have any doubt that you'd be able to accomplish what you accomplished with this team?
Any doubt? No, honestly not. I mean, kind of always believed in myself, better on myself. So I mean, I just coming here and doing that is just kind of reassurance of just be who you are and just work hard in everything you do, and things will work out.
Did you ever feel like overlooked at all in high school, or maybe other?
And then there's Amari Rogers, the junior receiver, who has announced he'll be back for next season. And here you are. With the interesting coincidence of being at the same table with a guy who's a Louisiana native, but you're one of the many who's been through the drill before, and you've performed on the big stage. As in the last game, your one touch was a big one, but kind of give me some general thoughts, Amari, of getting ready for this championship game, maybe compared to last year, because there are enough guys now that have been through the drill a few years.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like most of our offense, if not all of our offense, has been in the moment. So we definitely know how to prepare the right way, mentally and physically, taking care of our bodies off the field, and then mentally just studying the film every single day after practice, just making the corrections from practice. So we know we've been there before, so we know how to approach it, and I feel like the maturity in our offense is going to show in this game.
I think a key of what you guys do offensively is, in the Ohio State game, and you guys knew, and those who cover this team know that Trevor Lawrence has the ability to run, but he really showed that. He got a lot of that on film. You make one play, but it's a big one. It sets up an eventual game-winning score. There's a tight end who played his first game this past ball game of the season, made some big blocks, but maybe now he becomes a target. And, of course, then you know about the other wide receivers. I mean, it seems like you guys have as much ability to be in their minds going into a game than in terms of just the physical ability you have.
Right, exactly. We got so many playmakers all around the field, and that's credit to our coaching staff to be able to put all those playmakers out there and show different things so that defense can be on their toes every single play, not knowing what's coming. So I feel like that we're going to be able to use all of our weapons in this game. We're going to try to, because we gotta use all of our bullets, shoot all of our bullets for this game, because it's the last one is for all the marbles. So I definitely feel like we're going to throw everything in.
It was in March when you were injured. You hurt your knee during spring ball. And here you are in January, and then you made a contribution in games since you came back in October, but from a very low moment within the past year. I've got to think you have a 180-degree mindset, and the journey and the climb back to this point for you really is something I would think that you'll remember and value, that you were able to persevere.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said earlier, it made me appreciate the game even more, because Coach Sweeney always says, like, you got to love the game, you got to appreciate the game, because it can be taken from you like that. Just when I got hurt, it just made me fall in love with the game even more, because, I had to grind my butt off and come back, because, I hate sitting out, so I just grind
grinding every single day, and it was like, dang, like it can really be taken from you. So you just gotta appreciate the journey, appreciate the process every single day, appreciate the grind, because you know it can be taken from you today.
Thank you, my friend. Amari Rogers, his dad, led Tennessee to a national title. He's won a national title, so kind of an interesting backstory on a guy who's done a lot of great things in football. Now, he's part of a wide receiver group that includes Justin Ross, who has yet to join us today, or if he has, he's not sitting at his place. But then there's T. Higgins, who, of course, had many big plays against Ohio State, and a wide receiver who, like Rogers, comes from the state of Tennessee. And let's listen in on what T. Higgins has to say.
How do you guys combat that, and how do you think your wide receiver core matches up with their secondary?
You know, it's going to be a great matchup. You know, this game is probably going to be won through you know, we got to make plays in order to win this game, and that's hopefully that's what we can do tonight, Monday night.
There's going to be a lot of hype around the quarterbacks. It's their quarterback that won the Heisman Trophy. What do you think the nation needs to remember about your quarterback?
And he's going to fight. Y'all saw it last game. He's going to play with poise, and he's going to be a great quarterback that night. I know he is.
Aside from the UNC game, you guys haven't really faced adversity like that. What did you learn about your team in win number 29 that you didn't know going into it?
Man, we're just gonna keep fighting regardless. You know, y'all saw it in the UNC game, and y'all saw it last game. No matter what, how much we're down by, we're gonna keep fighting. We're not gonna give up.
Is there a level of confidence after winning that game in the Fiesta Bowl that, you know, I mean, you guys were confident going into it, but knowing you can win that way when all odds are against you?
It's just seeing that we can come back from a 16-0 deficit, and it's just showing that everybody that we have confidence and that we can. Anything is possible. So.
When you came to Clemson, did you envision back-to-back national champions?
No, I was hoping we can get to one, got one, and now that we have a chance to win another one, it's a great opportunity, and hopefully we can put our names in the record books.
The Trevor Lawrence factor that people now know in LSU, we've seen plenty of film of him running the football. I mean, I would think that gives you the opportunity to maybe have some more one-on-one situation because they've got to be loyal to that. How much does that help your offense?
It helps a lot, you know. I was actually surprised Trevor was running like he did. I didn't think he could run like that myself, but you know, it surprised me. But it helps us a lot, you know. Keep that guy contained on him. So I mean, you get a lot of one-on-ones, and hopefully we can go make some plays.
T. Higgins, of course, a year ago in the semifinals and the title game was a big factor as a receiver. Let's give you kind of a look as to what all is going on behind the scenes here. So they've got the position players, and then further down you got the punter and the place kicker, the holder, and the long snapper. And oftentimes, especially the holder and the long snapper, are the anonymous guys, but in the case of the holder, well, he's not too anonymous to us because he was a standout receiver at Daniel High School, and Will Sweeney, of course, happens to be Will Jr. because his dad is the head coach of the team, and he's a very affable fellow. Let's listen in on what Will has to say.
That same competitive drive. 80. Kind of a funny question for you. What's the difference between LSU Tiger and Clemson all the way down there getting lined up? In your eyes? Yeah. Well, the LSU Tiger, it kind of has that wider face based off the logo, and it seems a little more yellow in it. The Clemson Tiger, I just like how it's just like burnt orange and like fierce, and I don't know. I mean, personally, some may say I'm biased, but I think the Clemson Tiger would win in a fight over the LSU Tiger. So.
Give us your best Ed Orgeron impression.
Oh man, y'all got my dad on this yet? Oh my gosh, I honestly can't really do it, but my dad, you can get. What's something he would say?
Usually ends on a long field.
In Louisiana, go Tigers!
Sounded more like a growl.
I know. I haven't practiced that one, but that's the best I got. I know he's got a deep voice.
Does your dad ever growing up, would he ever tell stories about Alabama playing LSU and that rivalry since he was a part of it? And even maybe back in the 80s, the two teams at the same time maybe weren't national title contenders. But what are some backstories maybe you heard from your dad growing up about playing LSU?
You know, he always said that was one of the most hostile environments over there in Death Valley, and it was, I mean, and they say the stadium's kind of like on top of you, and it's loud, it holds the noise in, and they had some, I mean, that was one of their biggest games, obviously, every year, so that's, so when we first got to play them in 2012, it was very cool, like, ooh, this is a neat matchup. LSU, Clemson doesn't play them very often, and obviously that game in 2012 was like the one that really propelled this program, showed that we could win those big games, and now that we're here, it's cool being able to play them again, and hopefully we can get the same result.
I would think, again, this is probably family dinner time conversation over the years. Your dad has said it many times, you know, without the 4th and 16 play.
Yeah.
44 to 16 last year never happens. That may be game, that's the game, the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the bowl game in Atlanta at the end of 2012, that maybe you would mark as either a very important chapter or as the beginning of what became this championship era?
Yeah, for sure, because, you know, the year before, we had won the AC championship, but, like, we got a chance to play in a big bowl game, and West Virginia killed us. And so that next year, you know, it was an amazing year again, but we were in a thing where we were losing to Florida State, losing to South Carolina. And it was like, well, and we were playing LSU, and really nobody gave us a chance going into that game. And all that had happened going in, like Martavis Bryant wasn't even there. Sammy Watkins got hurt second play of the game. And, I mean, you go back and look at that roster. They even say here that might have been the biggest talent gap that we've had. Like, they were a much more talented team at the time, and for us to find a way to win that one, and the whole game it seemed like we never really quite had, like, they were always like a little ahead, and we found a way. I remember that's me personally, that's one of the happiest I've ever been after a Clemson win, and that really propelled us into the next year. Beating Georgia first game, it showed that we could win those tough games.
Undescribed. You were like 9 or 10 years old when your dad got the head coaching job.
Yeah.
And of course, from the time that you can remember, you've been at Clemson. You were just a little guy when you guys moved here. Do you ever, because again, you have such an interesting snapshot on the whole thing, different perspective than other players on the team, but do you ever think to myself, yeah, this might be a dream, and how surreal the growth that you've seen, not only with your dad as head coach, but with this program? I mean, just kind of put that in a capsule.
No, it is. And the fact, too, that I've been able to see where it started off, and even going back to 2003, but in terms of my dad getting the job in 2008 when I was like in 4th grade, I mean, I just knew at Clemson, like, it was always, we would go in like 9-4, 8-4, 9-5, 8-4 most years, and it was just like, I always had belief every year, but it seems like there were a lot of games we'd go into where, like, we just hope to win. And that's the biggest thing my dad changed in this program, was the way that we think. And I think that's one of his greatest gifts, too, is how he can communicate to our players. And now, like, it's no, like, we're in this game, like, I mean, the LSU, you look at them, like, they're an amazing team, but there's not a guy in that locker room that doesn't expect to win the game. And who knows, like, about 10 years ago, it wouldn't have been like that. There'd be a lot of just, like, hoping, like, looking at other teams. But we become so focused on us and doing what we do well. And that's just directly from him at the top, and getting all the coaches to buy in and players to believe. And you know, once we started getting those results, he's always had that good vision, but now he has the results to back it. I mean, that's going to help with recruiting, and now we finally got the #1 recruiting class, and it's cool. And then for me personally, to be able to, for my time here at Clemson, to line up with how we really, like, have been peaking as a program. Hopefully it's a long peak. But the fact that I've been able to come in the middle of my career and hopefully have a chance to go 30-0, win 2 national titles, sophomore, junior year, and who knows what happens next year. But I mean, that's just so amazing, so amazing.
Do you ever get a chance on these, like, bowl trips or championships?
Will Sweeney, the junior holder, wide receiver for the team, but he sees most of his action as a holder. But who knows, in a offense that often is bringing out secret weapons all over the place, maybe Will Sweeney will have a significant impact on how things play out come Saturday, or come Monday rather, a week from today, in the Superdome in New Orleans. Let's go back over to the offensive line end of things. We visited earlier with Gage Cervenka, starting guard, and Tremaine Antrim, a starting right tackle, and Jackson Carman, maybe the most important offensive lineman of all. As a left tackle with a right-handed quarterback, you're protecting the blind side of your QB. And let's hear what the native of Ohio, who just got a significant win personally for him in the last game, has to say.
You guys have proven a lot during this win streak, already winning national championship, 29 straight. Did you learn a little more about this team and its resolve when you went down 16-0 against Ohio State and found a way to win?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've seen that same resolve when we went down versus North Carolina. You know, that kind of just that character on our team to be able to stick through it and trust each other. And I feel like
I feel like that's just been really just built in us through our training. You know what I mean? Just like kind of how we worked in the off season. And we're used to, always having to grind through the pain, grind through the adversity, so we're prepared for it.
The last game, you were a talking point because you were the guy from Ohio facing Ohio State. They were in on you in recruiting, etc. Can you now commiserate with what Travis Etienne's going through, because he's a Louisiana guy going to play in his home state? And have you and he talked about that, or would you offer him any kind of advice as to how to handle that kind of side story?
Travis doesn't need any advice. Travis is a veteran. Travis has been here. Travis has done it on all stages, and I think he's going to be more than prepared going into this game. And I have a very special feeling about Travis for this game.
Was that a mindset, though, going into the Ohio State game that or a thought that was on your mind, that you thought about in the practices leading up to that game at all?
Yeah, I mean, obviously people ask me about it every 5 minutes when I was up there, but when I got in the game, I wasn't worried about any of that. It was just time to go. Yeah, no problem.
Jackson Carman, the sophomore left tackle.